Welcome to Open Range. I'm your host, Gary Emmett. The past few days, we've had a bunch of conservative Republicans on. We had Rick Becker made his announcement. We had Paul Henderson, district chairman, and one of the conservatives leading the conservative movement in the Republican State Party, and former state chairman Sandy Sanford. And so I'm going to stay in the politics thing. We're going to have Lance Hagen on with us. Lance has been on a number of times. I'm trying to recruit him to be a guest host because he's got good friends on the left, in the middle, and on the right, and he calls himself a conservative, just like my last three guests the last three nights, they all say they're conservatives. And sometimes you got to say, what is a conservative? What is your definition of a conservative? So we're going to have Lance on talking about that, and maybe at the end of the show you can email me, Gary@openrangetv.com. I'd love to have you get your thoughts. Maybe you have a suggestion for guests or other hosts that I could have around the state, because Open Range is meant to be open to anybody and everybody and covering a lot of subjects. And I want to hear what the people of North Dakota are thinking and what some of the people that we have on, their views are, obviously. And we're going to finish up the show today with Dr. Jake Schmitz, who's talking about trust and verify, and ask questions of your doctors when you go to them. Don't just let the doctor say this is exactly the way it is. Ask some questions on it, because they need to be nailed and settled. I don't want to say nailed, but more get specific about what they're saying to you for treatment and what's going on with you, because it's important for you to do it, because you sometimes got to hold them accountable because they're busy people. So anyway, Lance Hagen, welcome to Open Range once again.
Morning, Gary. After that opening, now I know why you gave me this Beck stress ball.
Duck. You can throw it on me. I can duck. Sean Hannity actually has one of those that he throws at the TV, or he used to. Remember that?
Really?
But maybe you don't watch Sean Hannity.
No, but him and I have been scrapping on Facebook a little bit.
Have you?
Yeah.
That's
so
good.
he pops up now. You know how this Facebook stuff is. You go on, click on somebody once, and
there you are.
So, but I actually did agree with him the other day on something, and you got to give credit.
What was that? Do you remember?
He was down in Mar-a-Lago talking about AI and data centers, and he's a big promoter of data centers and AI. And as you know, I grew up in Ellendale, and so I'm pretty familiar what's happened in the data center world. You got to, when it's the right thing, it's the right thing. It's bringing a huge tax base to Ellendale. It's brought good jobs. I had actually looked a few days earlier. I was watching Squawk on the street early in the morning, and they were talking about Core Wave, and I clicked on Core Wave, and then I looked at job openings, and it's kind of shocked me. But they had 4 job openings for Ellendale, North Dakota.
Really? And what kind of salaries would they have been at?
Well,
do you have any sense?
Funny you should ask that. We hadn't even talked about that and how we got into this conversation. But I noticed one of the job openings was for a security. I can't remember if it was head of security in Ellendale, or if it was just I don't think it was just a security guard. It was a supervisory position. And I'm shooting from the hip here.
But get in the ballpark. That's close enough.
But it was $73,000 starting wage
in
to
Ellendale.
$93,000. I believe it was 93. It might have been higher than that. And the qualifications were 5 years of law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. I actually posted it on Scott's page. I can't remember. But then there was 3 other job openings. And they started at $83,000 with the top end of the salary $163,000. And one of the other things I looked at were the benefit, and the benefits are incredible. They're incredible. They have some sort of daycare program. The list of benefits is long, and it's like they're good jobs. Now there's probably not 50 of them like a manufacturing job where you're making $20 an hour or 18 or whatever.
But I mean, think about those 4 jobs like that. Ellendale, what's the population of Ellendale?
Ellendale is about 1,050.
1,050. My wife's aunt is in the assisted living down there, and I'm actually driving down there Saturday to go to visit her this Saturday. But the idea that you have a community where you have that assisted living, those jobs are probably decent because they're health related. But, maybe it's working at the local Cenex and making your $15-20 an hour, or working at the Subway inside that Cenex in Ellendale. But then to find a job that's paying $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 in Ellendale, I mean, those are the things that people don't always hear. We hear about the oil patch and what it's done to the state. But we have all this energy that we're exporting. And I just say, why would we not use that here in state to our benefit of our own citizens?
Well, one of the other things that's happening in Ellendale is we've had a huge amount of people that have been there during the construction phase. Now, I understand they move out, but the construction phase has been going on for 3 or 4 years down there. And it's incredible the amount of outside money that it has brought into Ellendale. They're building 20 new houses, Applied Digital is, on the south side of Ellendale.
So let's talk
we haven't built 20 new houses in 50 years down there.
So let's talk about that for a second. So let's just talk about, let's just say I lived in Ellendale. I've been there, retired. I have my little house of 1,200 square feet, whatever it is. What would that house sold for 5 years ago, and what's the value of it today?
Well, funny you should ask, because
you
I
probably
had
have
a
one.
house down there,
Yeah.
and I have another one down there.
Yeah.
But 5 years ago, the little house that I had down there that I had lived in for, I don't know, I had that house for probably 15, 20 years, remodeled it, whatever I had, and then it's hard to get renters down there. Nobody was renting stuff, and you're getting $300-400 a month, whatever, rent out of them. That house wouldn't have brought, at its peak before Applied Digital moved in, it wouldn't have, I don't know if you could have sold it.
You don't
Maybe
know if you
for
could have sold.
$10,000.
Maybe for $10,000.
A $10,000 or $15,000, $20,000 house in Ellendale over here in Bismarck would be one that's built in 1958, and it's $250,000 up here.
And you could
Now
get $20,000 in Ellendale 5 years ago.
No way.
And what's it
No
worth?
way.
What's it worth today then?
I don't think there's many for sale.
But if it was, what could? If, let's say you put it on the market, what would somebody pay for
I
it?
I think houses probably. I don't know. I'm kind of be talking. I would guess.
But take a guess.
I would guess that a really nice home that in Bismarck would sell for $300 to $350. Down there a couple years ago, probably, or before Applied Digital, would have probably sold for $90. Now it's going to probably sell for $175 to $200.
So look at the asset value that helped.
Incredible.
And see,
those
what
houses
happens
were
is-
falling down.
And see, people don't understand that, and they just want to get critical of these data centers, and they're going to suck our power. My utility bills are going to go up, and we're going to just have blackouts, and that power is, we're shipping our natural gas with liquid gas to Asia, to Europe, and I'm going like, okay, so we put it in the pipeline and ship all the gas out of the state to be processed. We send our crude out of state. And, I had Justin Krinkstead on a while back talking about putting the pipeline to use natural gas to the eastern part of the state. And this is a project where I say God bless the legislature. I think they've done some good, those are good investments in the state of North Dakota for assets we have to help our citizens. Sometimes I question how we approach the spending in commerce, and I'm trying to get some commerce guys on. But in instances like that, that benefits the North Dakota citizens, and people in Ellendale in that area benefits them. And so I think it's important to be talked about. In fact, I'm requesting to do a 4-series show. I'm trying to get the CEO of Applied Digital to come on and do a series of 3 or 4 shows about it. We're actually going to go visit it and do some video footage. I did drive onto the site a while back, or tried to. The security gate wouldn't let me by. They were pretty tough. So that's probably what they're looking for. I did get in a little bit and turned around and took a couple pictures and left,
But I know I had a good friend of mine sold a place down there, my best friend from school. He just passed away last fall. But the piece of property that he sold before Applied Digital, a guy from Applied Digital bought it. He would have got half. I'm not going to say the number, but it was a nice number.
Yeah.
He would have probably got half for that house if Applied. It was someone from out of the community who did have some ties to our community that bought that place. And the local grocery store, we have one grocery store down there, it was going to close. One of the people out at Applied Digital, that I don't know who it was or whatever, but he actually bought the grocery store to keep it open because he said it's a valuable asset to the community. We had zero going on in Ellendale down there. I watched that thing go from when when we were kids, it was way different. But, we had 4 blocks of businesses on Main Street. 3 years ago or 4 years ago, you could have put them all on one side of the street on one block. Yeah. Now we have a new Legion Club down there. A lot of that's got to do with gaming. But it's people, outside people that are going to the Legion Club now that are working jobs, hauling gravel, doing whatever, building that facility. It's amazing. It is a godsend for that community now.
And I think what happens is when you have development like that, It doesn't have to just be oil. There's a lot of side industries that come off of our natural resources that we need to leverage. And with that, it spurs other opportunities and other businesses. And, your point is if that grocery store locks up, when that happens, the town might as well pack up and head somewhere else, because when the grocery store is going, all that's left is maybe a bar or two and maybe a restaurant if you're lucky, and the post office. And now that's about all you got going on.
We didn't, I think we had one restaurant down there that was open, and when Applied Digital's people started coming, they started talking to people down there about, hey, we got to get some more places for people to eat, the construction guys. But it's outside money. It's not people in that community that are fighting over the same dollar bill. People are bringing a $1 bills into the community, and then it's just bringing money in. And the reason why I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this, that we got Applied Digital down there was because of the wind towers that we have. We have a huge amount of wind towers down there. The very first wind tower program in the state was started by my friend Dennis Anderson down in Edgeley, and he talked about how much money it was going to bring into the Lemoore Schools District. And he was right. We have a brand new school in Cullum because of that. Now we have Applied Digital. I mean, we can't get into a bubble and go,
I'm not a big fan of wind, but I want to talk about that when we come back, because I think there's some real merit in what it's doing to actually drop, obviously, utility costs for some people. So we've been talking to Lance Hagen, who's a farmer, not a rancher, but a farmer, Burleigh County, but also a developer in Lincoln, North Dakota, just east of Bismarck. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Stop out to our facility, Highway 22 South. Let us build a truck for you.
Hello and welcome to the MHA Interpretive Center. It's the perfect stop along the Lewis and Clark Trail and the cultural hub of the Mandan, Hiraadza, and Arikara Nation. Nestled along the shores of Lake Sagagawea in Newtown, North Dakota, 1 mile west of the Four Bears Casino. You can enjoy amphitheater performances, art exhibitions, and educational workshops utilizing our living cultural center. Enjoy some coffee, browse our gift shop, and learn about the original people of this land. Learn more at mhanation.com/interpretive center.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza.
Home on the Range offers a nurturing place for teens who may have just come from an unsafe or traumatic environment. Here, they receive therapy and education services centered around animals, and the surrounding nature provides opportunities for work, fun, and healing. Life skills learned at Home on the Range are carried with residents when they return to the community with new talents and a greater appreciation for themselves and others.
Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
Welcome back to Open Range. I'm your host, Gary. I'm going to talk to Lance Hagen, who's a farmer from Burleigh County, but also developer in Lincoln, North Dakota. Understands development, grew up in Ellendale, North Dakota. Been talking about applied digital and data centers, and now we're talking about wind towers a little bit. But Lance, I just saw someone share something on social media, and I don't know if it was accurate, but it was really about people's fear over the data centers are going to drive everybody's utilities up. And I know Randy Crispin has made some statements as a PSC commissioner about this is it, and MDU's had some challenges in the western part of the state over a little bit of that. Now, I'm not sure the facts of it, because sometimes things are going to rise just by the nature of it. And as soon as something happens, they got to find a boogeyman to attack. But this person made the claim that utility rates have actually dropped because of the data centers in Ellendale, because of all that wind that you talked about. And if there's no place to put it, because you got power plants generating wind when they deal with base load, and all this wind's going, what do they do with it? They just have to burn it and throw it. They don't use the wind. They just shut it off and it gets wasted. But if you have a data center, it's feeding the data center, and it's created millions of dollars of revenue for the utility to actually help write down some of the cost increases that were going to be happening. So what this person claimed is that the wind, even though it's subsidized, that's my gripe. It's got to stand on its own. There's a point, and I know I call it pollution when I look at those things. I go, I can't look at that. It's like a smokestack going out there, putting all that pollutant in
right up until you get one.
Yeah. Well, of course, if I had by the way, you claim those wind towers generate about $1 million per landowner, the big ones, over the course of its life for that farmer or landowner.
I did that. You're catching me off guard.
Yeah, but that's a number you gave me.
Because I'm telling you,
we did the math. We did the math in a previous show.
That's
yes,
what
we
it
did.
was. Right.
It was about $1 million, and
right.
So if I'm driving down the road and I go
pretty
by
good IRA.
If I go by Wilton and I see all those wind towers, you're telling me those 50 wind towers, they're over the course of their cycle. Now they may not be the biggest, because they're maybe
right 3.5s or whatever.
So, but if there is still $500,000 and I get 4 on my land, that's a couple $1 million over the course of those windmills. Now, of course, Trump says they rust out after 8 years, I think.
Like Gary, it's no secret. People that know me, I don't profess to be an oil guy. I'm not an oil guy. Don't think that I'm an oil guy, but I have invested in oil wells. And
well, when you're as rich as you and have all that big rich farmer, you got all that money.
I'm a risk taker, and one subsidizes the other.
I get it.
But so, and I don't just. I participate. I started that because I got in the real estate development business, and I had all these people running around Bismarck talking about, $58 crude, and everybody's going to drill at that and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, I have a huge investment in doing real estate development, so I want to understand that industry. So one of my friends got me involved in that, and I've participated, which means you go downhole with them. It's like farming on shares. If you bomb out, the no crop, you got nothing. So when you participate, that's how it works. So I do fairly understand. I understand what it's like to write the checks, and I understand what it's like to get the deposits. And a lot of people don't know what that number is. I'll tell you right now, the number is $60 crude, because crude oil is like anything else. It costs so much money to get it out of the ground and transport.
So when you're saying when crude's $50 or $45,
ain't happening.
They're not going to drill, or as an investor, you're going to say the next time around to say, do you want to participate? You're saying I pass.
I had a guy call me a week ago and ask me if I wanted to participate in some wells, and I said, it's $60. It's $58 to $60 crude. And our president's talking about getting it to 40. Why would I invest money in something that I know I'm going to lose money? And any of your viewers who think that I'm lying are more than welcome to try and get a hold of me and participate in one of these wells at $50.
So if you want to, you can email me, Gary at Open Range TV, and I'll just forward that email to Lance. He'll gladly take your money and get you involved.
But I'll put you in touch with people who will.
But Lance, while I got my email up there, I'm serious about wanting you to consider guest hosting a little bit, because you bring a different perspective. I tend to get into my circle of thinking. And when it comes to agriculture, you've done development, you've done investment, you're from Ellendale, you can speak to different things. And I think viewers across the state, when they got the remote and they're saying, do I want to watch Gary again today? No, and they want to let's go watch something else. Because I'm on at 9 o'clock at night and 8 in the morning on Bexley. There's 2 hours a day. So if you host my show, you get to have all kinds of things to talk about. So maybe you can bring some of your rhino friends in. But no, I'm kidding. But you have some good. By the way, I'll leave my little rhino elephant, my little rhino eraser here for you, and you can. And but anyway, I'm just jokes aside. But I think it's important for people across the state to hear different views. And while I've had a number of conservatives on the last 3 days, and you call yourself a conservative, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been, and yeah, I'm a conservative when it comes to fiscal responsibility. Nobody likes to see people spend money foolishly.
Yeah.
I mean, I may differ. Anybody who thinks that they have the definition of conservative down to where we're all in the same basket is kidding themselves. It don't work that way. You've been involved in politics a long time. You and I agree on some things and we disagree on something. But we don't let it affect our friendship.
100%. And see, I think that's important for the viewers to know. This last week, I've reached out to multiple Democrats to have them on. I'm going to have Trygve Hammer on, I think, tentatively on the 15th of December. We're scheduling timing to get some guests on. And I want this citizen of North Dakota to have robust debate. We're afraid to discuss things because if you disagree and we kid on wind, it's going to happen. I mean, if they're going to do wind, they're going to do wind. And I, as a citizen, can speak out on it. I can get involved. If I have land, it makes sense. It doesn't. That's kind of what it is. You know, that's the way the laws work and the process should work. But we shouldn't. We should still be able to be friends and not be hostile to one another.
I don't have any wind towers, but I've seen what it's done for our area down there. Cullum has a new school because of wind towers. You know, I mean, I don't have any, but I'm supportive of them because I support the guy that owns the land, gets the revenue off it, and I'm also supportive of the fact that that's outside money that we never had in that community. That farmer or that landowner spends that money at the local grocery store to keep it alive. It's outside money.
And so when you look at what happened in Ellendale, what would you say the attitude of the locals are towards that, just as a whole? I mean, you know, you get back
as a whole,
there. Yeah,
as a majority of the
majority
people,
of them happy with it?
I mean, we're too close to Aberdeen. People go to Aberdeen for their groceries. A lot of people do. That's, you know, how this works. We're way more mobile than we were 30 years ago. But there are people down there that are jealous. It's like anything else. There's going to be 30% of the people that watch your show that don't like me.
Yeah,
I've come to that. And 30% of them don't like you.
So we're
either.
Both in the same.
That's just the real world that we live in.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
And what I like to think about is, you know, in politics, we don't have people that talk about facts anymore. Facts we just talk talking points. It drives me crazy when we get all these politicians that they just want to do talking points and not talk about facts, you know, like we talked about what a wind tower generates. Let's talk about the facts, you know?
Yeah.
Not some talking point that the White House sends out.
When can I schedule you to do a show on wind for our viewers?
I'm not an expert on wind.
No, but you can find an expert, you know, because those are the important things. I think viewers, you know, my goal, here's my gripe of TV today. When we went and CNN came out and you had an all-news channel and all that started happening, you started getting more news than you ever had before because you had to sit and watch, as I grew up, you had watched the local, you know, national news at 5:30 and the state news came on at 6, and then at 9 and at 10 o'clock you watch the local, and that was kind of how you got your news, besides the newspaper. I'm on airplanes on and off. Nobody ever has a newspaper anymore. Nobody reads a newspaper on airplanes. I haven't seen the last time I saw a newspaper on an airplane. They might have a phone or something like that. But then talk radio came, and then you had all the talking heads all kind of regurgitating the same stuff. And now you have TV, full news all the time, all the different channels. And I can turn on at 6 o'clock, and if I'm watching a conservative channel, they're all saying the same thing for the next 12 hours.
And it's all the talking points that came out of the White House.
But it could be MSNBC doing
the
Democrats. Same thing down the line. And I'm going like, there's more stuff going on in the world than the same talking points. I am so sick of it. I'm like ready to, so that's why I do the show, is I want to give different topics to different people, and I want the show to go where the guest wants to take it and talk about it. And my point back to you about wind is that some of us just get talking points, and I don't necessarily like looking at them. You know, I'd rather see the rolling prairies, and so I see these wind towers. And then when I come over the hill by Wilton and I'm heading towards my place, I see all these red blinking lights. And I thought, if I had to see that out of my picture window at night, that would really piss me off.
It'd be like Christmas.
Well, I put up a lot of Christmas lights, so maybe that's what it is. So there you have it. See, we all have different views of how to approach this life.
I don't
It's
know. I don't
Christmas
have
year
one
round.
outside my window, but I wished I had one on my land. But,
Yeah, I'd take. Well, if it's $1 million, I'd take.
but
6 or 8
it
of them.
generates revenue that comes into those communities. And I have all the respect in the world for my old friend Dennis Anderson. I remember back in the early 2000s when he was fighting to get those wind towers in down at Edgeley. And by the way, it was maybe the late 90s, it might have even been, when Dennis was trying to get in. So they've been there for 25 years. They're still turning. None of them have fell over because they're rusty.
You need to
and
get-
I haven't seen them take any blades down either and destroy them.
You need to get a hold of Trump then, let him know they're still up. Maybe
Well,
get a tour
somebody
of them.
should, because that was not a fact that he stated.
By the way, when you do think about the wind, just in defense, I mean, you look at the jobs up in Grand Forks where they got those big blades. You look at, and by the way, when those things are heading down the highway, I am just awestruck. Every time I pass one and they're coming and they got that long blade, and I go, they don't look that big from up in the air, but when they're heading down the road, those are big
right.
blades.
You know, what we have here that no one else, I sit around and think about this, you know, California, we don't want to be like California, but I mean, there was a reason why California got all these people from the beginning of the United States.
It's called
Exactly. It's called weather. But we have something that California doesn't have. We have natural resources out here. We have wind, we have coal, we have oil. We have things like that. And you got people that are sitting at home watching this show going, that guy's crazy because I don't want anything out my backyard.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who do want things out their backyard.
And I think that goes, we're going to go to the break when we come back on. I mean, that's really what we're talking about is property rights for someone that has that landowner. So we've been talking to Lance Hagen, who's a developer, farmer from Bertie County. I'm your host, Gary Emmett. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Base Flug Trailers of Dickinson is a family-owned dealer with expert staff that know their products front to back. We stock over 150 units of all types and can custom order a trailer with the unique features and capabilities you require for brands you can trust. Our experienced service team is the reason we're also the best place to have your trailer customized or repaired. Count on Base Flug Trailers of Dickinson to keep you hauling.
Come on in and experience small-town hospitality and the personalized care that makes car buying a pleasure.
We know that every journey starts with the right car. Whether it's school drop-off, weekend road trips, or your daily commute, we have the right vehicle for you and your family.
With trusted brands, affordable prices, and a team that treats you like family, finding your next car has never been so easy.
We pride ourselves on personal attention and quality service. Beset Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Yeah, U.S. Cattlemen is a member organization that each member has a vote in anything we do with policy. We're representing the independent cattleman or the cow-calf guy or an independent feeder or whatever. We like to support the independent producer. We're talking about mandatory ID, we're talking about cool, we're talking about all the legislation that's going to be coming down with the new administration. There's going to be lots of moving and shaking. So always check us out at our website, uscattleman.org.
I'm $27,000 in credit card debt.
Okay.
You have to radically do something different, because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting.
Now's not the time to be doing math. The time to be doing math was when we didn't go under $200,000 of debt.
If you are freaked out and you're stuck in these debt payments and you think it has to be a part of your life, it doesn't.
We are ladies of another view.
Join us every weekday morning at 9 o'clock a.m. as we discuss the big topics from North Dakota, the nation, and around the world.
We chat with everyone from celebrities and medical professionals to politicians, local business owners, and neighbors about the topics and stories that affect all of us.
We are unscripted and uncensored real news from real people. So join us every weekday morning for Ladies of Another View on Beth.
Welcome back to Open Range. I'm your host, Gary. I'm going to talk to Lance Hagen, developer, farmer from Burleigh County. So, Lance, I guess the part of the point of it is I wanted you to have on just to kind of talk, and sometimes I need sanity checks because, when you watch the same shows and you hear the same thing, and I remember when I was campaigning for the legislature, I got beat by Erin O'Ban. God bless her, she beat me, but I knocked on 6,000 doors. And I'd knock on doors in Bismarck. And I could see a lot of times older people came to the door that would just be kind of depressed. And they could have been liberal, Republican, conservative, either one. And we'd talk about stuff, and I'd say, once they did it, I'd say, hey, let me ask you a question. Do you have your TV on all day? Yeah, we turn on, we get up, and we turn on, we shut off. I said, do you flip through the channels, watch a lot? No, I pretty much watch about, you're either watching CNN or Fox or MSNBC.
Right.
And I said, my suggestion is shut that thing off, maybe watch it for an hour here or there, but pick up a book, read a paper, get out of the house, but you get this bombardment that you think the world's going to hell in a handbasket. And sometimes there are some things that need to be fixed. I get that. But that's what's wrong with this world.
Well, and it's even worse now because if you click on a news article on your phone, all at once they're targeting you with everything that goes along with that and nothing on the opposite side that says, hey, wait a minute. This is the other argument.
Well, that's what I worry about AI. So if you go to TikTok and you click on a video or you like it and you go to a Trump, they just keep bombarding you. So all they do is reinforce that. And you can see how it's
terrible.
You can see how China and Russia and all the people that are enemies want to brainwash us and have us fight with one another. And so why can't we get along? Because you have friends on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, I'm going to the rodeo Sunday with the guy that beat me for the legislature down in District 26 long time ago, and I still think that it was election fraud. Him and Stoffren did. I didn't. They were way ahead of the game.
How close was the race?
Oh, well, District 26 was way different.
Oh,
Ellendale was we were on the way west edge, and at that time, it's funny. At that time, we had Melrose, and so you had Gwinner and Sargent Central, and Sargent County was huge Democrat, and my friend John Hokena, we've been friends. We were friends before the election, and they managed to talk him into running against me, which made me kind of mad for an open seat. And so, but we would meet in a little town called Ludden, and one of my great friends who was on the Democrat board was the state's attorney in Ellendale, Danny Diemert. We would drive from Ellendale to Ludden and argue and fight and scream at each other the whole way over. And then we'd get to the Ludden Tavern, and all the Oaks boys, most of them were Democrats now, that it's kind of funny because my friends, their kids are all, when you go to the Republican convention, those Democrat guys, their kids are sitting in the District 26 Republican convention.
Really?
Yeah,
That is
there's a couple of them that I have to laugh every time. Now there's a few, but there's a couple of them.
So let me ask you a question about those kids. Would their philosophy have changed?
And they're not kids; they're 50.
They're 50.
So,
yeah, fair enough. That
because my friends were quite a bit older.
I get you. So, but if you put that with those friends, kids that are now 50 as delegates at the Republican convention, would you say they are moderate Republicans, or do you think their values, because a lot of those Vietnam protesters that were total lefties are now total right-wingers, you know what I mean? And so would you say those 50-year-old delegates that are now Republicans, are they moderates, conservatives? Do you have any idea?
I think they're conservative.
You think they are?
More, yeah. And as fun, yeah, their dad and their grandpa were Farmers Union Democrats.
Interesting.
And so I don't know what did that. Maybe it was Trump that did it. I think that was, I don't know when they really switched. You know,
but there were delegates at the convention. You're
oh
saying.
yeah, I'm not going to mention
Yeah,
any
no,
names.
you don't have
but,
to. I don't. I
but
wouldn't put them
they're
on.
pretty well. They're probably on a couple of them, are maybe on the executive board down there. And it was funny because their dads were the ones that were meeting at the London Tavern when we'd go over there and have a few drinks and get really smart and argue and fight in the whole bar. It was great.
But,
I mean,
those were fun times, weren't they? Because you could have discussions and you weren't going to go. I mean, there's always a rough one in the crowd that wants to punch somebody, and that happens, you know. But
yeah, not in our group.
Yeah, not. But that's what it's about. That's what made America. I mean, I think of the Patriots going back in the 1700s. Do you think those guys fought over the issues, whether we should be Federalist or state rights? Of course they did.
And part of the problem now is, I think, like in Washington, D.C., nobody does any of that. They don't interact. The parties don't, you know, like, and when I say our group, it wasn't 8 of us. It was 20 or 30 people in that little bar in London at the tavern. And then my friend Dan and I, you know, he was way up in the Democrat Party. Probably would have been the Attorney General if he had not died in a car accident. Wow. But him and I would fight to the point where people would move away from us when we were talking, and you know, except for the real hardcore, the Hokena brothers, they'd stay and needle me. But
so one of those Hokena brothers, one of those boys is you're going to Vegas with them.
Yeah, we've been going to the rodeo for 30-some years.
That's
together.
The finals, high school,
the national finals. We've been going every year and we've been friends. And it's funny because he's a Blue Dog Democrat, John is, you know. He's on the Dickey County Commission. He doesn't agree with the crazy left-wing stuff that's taken place with AOC and that kind of stuff. I don't know what's happened to the parties. I was talking to our friend Curly this morning. I said, maybe the idea is, instead of you worried about getting rid of the primaries like he's doing, maybe we should just get rid of the parties and people have to run on their own merits. Yeah. And then when we go to Washington, D.C., people don't have to choose up sides. They actually get something done out there. Because everybody's, you know how politics works. Leadership doles out the trinkets.
Yep, pretty much.
And if you don't toe the line, you don't get any trinket.
That's absolutely the case. You get to serve in this committee. I'm going to put you over here, and
so you don't dare criticize
you get divided for dinner to this party and that party, and that's the way it works. So you actually, I mean, you're kind of making an interesting statement. I've always advocated that people need to be more engaged in the party because it's, you know, free speech. We come together on principles we agree with, and whether it's right to life, whether it's wind towers, or, you know, whether it's, you know, oil industry, whatever that my interest is, you come together as a coalition and you move that agenda forward, and that's the debate that needs to occur. And you're saying, you know, maybe we just get rid of the parties and be all Americans and fight it out and let people run on their own.
Yeah, because you don't have to get rid of your the things that you mentioned, right to life and Christian Coalition or whatever. You don't have to get rid of that. You just have to convince the guy over here that that's what you need to do. And instead of the guy going to the ballot box and going, well, I'm a Republican, so boom, 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 boom. I'm a Democrat, boom, boom, boom. And you know, and I know, that it's just like the people that like us and don't like us. 25 to 30% of those people vote that ticket. Now and most of these guys, when they get elected and go to Washington and go to Bismarck, become an independent contractor anyhow.
Yeah, you're right about that. You know, I have said I'm going to get a lot of people mad, but I've said for years, when I was party chairman, I believed it even more than I do today, that if you took over 50% of the ballot and handed it to a citizen, and they went in and voted, and they voted straight ticket, let's just say. Now, next week, they got to re-vote. Hand them the ballot, no party affiliation, mix them up.
Right.
They would know who they voted for president, maybe the U.S. Senate, maybe Congress, maybe governor, maybe not. Maybe one of the legislators. After that,
right?
They would, because the name ID comes in, so the party drives that where people can vote straight ticket, and that to me that's the argument why you have a platform and you want candidates to follow it. So when people do it and people encroach on the party, what they stand for, and then don't support the position, people are getting bondoogled or something, or whatever word I'd come up with, bamboozled or whatever.
Right, bamboozled.
Bamboozled, there we go, is what I'm looking for. But, you know, because I just feel that that's why I advocate platform and people align.
But nobody
themselves.
follows the platform anyhow.
Well,
now
they-
we're trying to.
well, they
now
should,
we're
but they
trying
don't.
to influence people to follow the platform, and maybe that platform doesn't work in a purple district.
Yeah. Probably not. Probably not.
And so are we just going to have? That's what's happened now. Is if we're going to force people to, boy, if he doesn't follow the platform, we're going to censor him.
Yeah.
And you know what? That doesn't get people in these purple districts elected.
Yeah.
Whether you're a Democrat, you can't bring an AOC to a purple district and get her elected in North Dakota. The problem we have with politics is we got the shirts and the skins, and the taxpayers, the citizens, not the taxpayers, the citizens are paying for it because we don't have anybody. And there's nobody, you can't fix that. You can't take Julie Fedorchak, one person, and send her to Washington, D.C., 434 other people in the House of Representatives. That is a pipe dream.
Yeah.
That don't work that
So
way.
let me ask you a question. We got only a few minutes to go. Do you think we're getting good government in North Dakota? Scale 1 to 10.
I don't know. I think we spend too much money. And when you say good government, are we talking about state? Are we talking about county, city, or state?
I would say state. On the state level, Republicans have been running it forever. I mean, do you think on a scale 1 to 10, are they a 6, 7? I mean, you've been around when the Democrats were in charge and George Sinner, and those were tough times.
But I was around also when the legislature had 3-4 votes, the Democrats could carry something. We had better government then, Gary. We had now, you were asking me about guest hosting your show. If I come on, I was thinking about that. I thought maybe Luke won't go for this, but I'd like to have 2 guests.
You can.
I'd like to have, for lack of a better term, a MAGA person and a rhino. I'd like to, because the part of the problem with government that we have now is we don't have anybody that's actually talking. We don't have many Democrats left in the state. So you just got to go within the 2 Republican factions.
We're done with our segment. See, you have to come back and host the show because we don't have enough time. Because to be honest with you, one of my favorite shows of all time was Crossfire. Liberal Republican on CNN. Those guys used to go at it. I loved it. It was great for both sides of it, And so we're all in. I'll talk to Luke. We'll get the table set up for you. Find your guests. We're going to go to the break. Lance, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks.
So we've been talking to Lance Hagen. We're going to have Dr. Jake Schmitz for a segment talking about Verify. Trust but verify, but ask your doctor questions. It's important because he's got some really insightful things. So I'm your host, Gary Emmons. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, y'all. It's Trent on the loose. I want to tell you, Lady Blue and I, we got a lot of miles together. But you know what? You and I got a lot of miles together as well. And all I want to do is bring to you the information on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations. So I'm going to continue to travel the world and unearth the stories that make it possible that we can live in a free United States of America.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza. Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
We are the St. Mary Sisters. We are building a new facility here in Bismarck, North Dakota, for the sake of training young women to be courageous teachers in this state. The sisters will educate the younger generation to be fully alive through truth and discipline. The sisters' life of devotion and joy will make a positive difference in your community. Check out what we're up to, see what's going on, and join our mission to make a difference in the lives of the children of North Dakota.
Ashley, North Dakota is where life moves a little slower, but never gets dull. From hunting, camping, and fishing to safe streets where kids can be kids, this is the best of small town living. And Ashley offers everything you need, from healthcare to hardware to countless ways to stay active. Here, we've invested in our future with major upgrades to roads, parks, and education. Whether you're here for the day or here for life, you'll find Ashley's where you ought to be.
There's never been a better time to rediscover the style, reliability, and all-season, all-terrain fun of the all-new Nissan lineup at the new and improved Ryan Nissan. Whether it's the sleek and stylish Murano, the adventure-ready Pathfinder, or the reimagined, ready-for-anything 2026 Rogue, the all-new Ryan Nissan has the vehicle of your dreams at a price perfect for any budget. It's time to rediscover your passion for the road. It's time to rediscover the all-new Ryan Nissan, engineered to endure.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Dr. Jake Schmitz back with another Freedom Health Talk on Open Range. So we're going to be talking about something today that I don't want to say is controversial. I think it's a conversation, and I think it's one that we need to have. I did a Facebook Live on this, a version of this this morning, and I'm going to continue this conversation, and I think it's important, and it's a bigger conversation. And I think it's one that we need to, at a minimum, we need to ask some good questions, right? There are some questions that need to be answered. Now, what brought this conversation on, and why I decided to bring it to you, and this we really found out during COVID that if we're not willing to ask hard questions, we're not willing to, go out there and say, like, does this make sense? We will end up doing the wrong thing because we were told to by the experts. So, like I said, if we've learned anything from the COVID debacle, it is we should be asking better questions, and we cannot just abdicate responsibility for our health. We can't just trust that the system will tell us what to do, because the system is really only concerned with the system, not with you. So what ends up happening, right? So what brought this on was that, and maybe you know this, but on the CDC's page, their website, they have now walked back their position that vaccines do not cause autism. So they've walked that back. What that means is that, and really, if you can go look this up, if you just type in Google, you do CDC autism vaccines, and you'll click on the first link. I think it's the first link. And it'll take you to their website where it says that the previous statement that, end quote, vaccines do not cause autism, because that was their statement. It's been on their website for years. They have held to vaccines do not cause autism. And they've used that as a bludgeon to try to, convince people that safe and effective, whatever. I'm not going to talk about that and my personal opinions on that. And here you can see right there. Right here's the autism and vaccines. The claim that vaccines do not cause autism is not an evidence-based claim. Studies have not ruled out the possibility. Studies supporting a link have been ignored, and HHS has lost comprehensive assessment of causes of autism, including investigations on plausible biological mechanisms and potential causal links. So this was November 19th, 2025. This just came out a couple days ago, and it has been taking social media by storm. There's those of us that are in the health and wellness camp that are like, yeah, we've known this for years. And my Facebook I did this morning, my Facebook Live, I just said that, hey, our job right now, those of us that have been saying this for years, need to just kind of take a step back, be calm, be rational, be the adult in the room, and just say, yeah, so what do you think this means? Now, why I think it's important for us to discuss this and what we're going to be talking about today is, like, what does this mean for you, and how can we use this as a motivator or as a way to level up as it pertains to our thinking and our health? Now, why this is important is that a lot of times we've been told, and again, this is conditioned behavior. Depending on how old you are, which generation you grew up in, the conditioned behavior was, and still to an extent is, that medical doctors are always right. That's the conditioning. And again, I'm not saying that, I'm not casting aspersions on medical doctors. I think there can be some phenomenal people that are awesome and they care, just like whether we're talking chiropractors or nutrition experts. I'm not talking about the people by themselves. I'm talking about the system. The medical system is always right. That's how we were conditioned to think. Never question. Don't ask questions. Well, that's never really worked well for me. So I always ask questions. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And in fact, I will tell my patients this. If you're ever presented with something, could be what I say, could be what your doctor says, it could be what the politicians say. Does it pass the sniff test? Meaning, does it make sense to you? And not because it's esoteric information. I just mean if you're told something ridiculous and it doesn't make sense, that's your brain saying, we need to examine this a little bit more. We should take a step back and examine this more closely. So when the CDC walks back their position and says that, well, our previous statement wasn't evidence-based, meaning when we told you for years that vaccines do not cause autism, that wasn't actually fact-based. That wasn't based on evidence. That wasn't based, at least at a minimum, that wasn't based on all of the evidence. That was based on cherry-picked evidence, which, by the way, if you understand anything about science, you have to be neutral. There can be no bias. Because again, right now, the snow that I see outside, that's white. That's fact. That's unbiased, neutral. The snow is white. I don't want to talk about yellow snow. That's different. The snow is white, right? That is an evidence-based statement. We can confirm that. But when I make a statement that says that snow is red and anyone who thinks otherwise is completely crazy, well, this is what the CDC is basically, they're saying, well, that previous statement that we made, that vaccines do not cause autism, that was not based on evidence. This is an important distinction. And why I think this is important is we found out during COVID that a lot of the statements that were being made, whether it was the World Health Organization, whether it was CDC, Dr. Fauci, whomever, we found that there was a lot of statements that were made that were not based in evidence. The whole stay 6 feet away from people, right? Remember that? 6 feet, stay 6 feet. There was not a single shred of evidence that supported that. It just sounded good. That's why Fauci picked it, 6 feet. But it seems like a good number, right? Again, I'm not picking on him. I'm just saying, well, I should, but I'm just saying that wasn't an evidence-based statement. Wear masks, it'll prevent the spread of COVID. That wasn't an evidence-based statement. In fact, a lot of the evidence said the opposite of that. It's not helping whatsoever. None of the studies supported that. But we were mandated to wear masks because why not? Go get the shot. Again, I don't want to talk about that whole part of the conversation, but none of that was evidence-based. And so if anything we learned during COVID was we need to take a step back and say, wait a minute, where am I getting my information from? And I think that's the important thing that we can take away from what the CDC just did, was because we've had the last how many years of people that were told, young parents that were told, safe and effective, does not cause autism. And then we find out that this trusted authority, at a minimum, wasn't giving us the full truth. You know, I had this conversation the other day with a person, and I was saying, you know, if you are telling someone something, but you leave out vital information, that's called a lie. Now, that's not a lie of commission, where I actually lied to you. That's called a lie of omission, where I left something out. So if I told you a statement that vaccines do not cause autism, and I knew that that was based on half of the evidence or whatever, some, number, not all of the evidence, and I knew that certain things were omitted, because of this, I know that this statement isn't true. But if I only base it on half of the equation, then it is true based on that. That's called a lie. So the CDC lied to you. Okay. I want you to understand that. It may not be like the people that said the lie, it may not be nefarious. They maybe didn't know. Because if the people who are in charge said, yep, We know it. Do not cause autism. Write it down. Now, regardless of the vaccine conversation, the bigger issue that I want us to understand is, okay, so if they're lying to us here, at a minimum, we need to start asking the question, where else are they lying to us? And by they, I mean Big Brother, government, health authorities, whatever. Again, I'm keeping this a health related. You could easily say politicians. It doesn't matter, right? My point, though, in this, and I'll spend the last minute or two talking about this, is we need to be really good at vetting out who the real experts are. And at a minimum, we need to be our own expert, especially as it pertains to our health. But I would argue on everything, you cannot abdicate to someone else. And I see this so often. Again, doesn't matter if we're talking about finances or politics or health, religion. We pick the person and then we don't think about how that affects us, or we don't come up with our own, how do I feel about this? It's, well, that person said, so therefore. During COVID, everyone was like, not everyone, but, people that were all about COVID were all like Fauci. He's the man, Turns out he was lying to us, right? Or at a minimum, leaving things out, if you don't want to go that far. Right now, the CDC, when they say they have to walk back their position statement, well, that means they lied to us at a minimum. They left things out. That's a lie of omission. So we go, okay, we can't trust that what we read from these organizations is fact. This is proof of that. So we need to be the ones to research this on our own. I'm not saying you can't use what they say. I'm not saying don't look at these organizations, the FDA, the CDC, the World Health Organization. Go nuts. Use their information. But the saying is trust, but verify. So now you take what you're told and you have to turn and go, all right, now I need to do my part in this. I will never trust my children's health to an organization. Never. I don't care what it is. I'm going to verify that what's happening is what's actually happening. And that's my point, is I don't want you to say, well, we can never trust organizations. No, you can trust them. You just need to verify that what they're telling you is the truth. Because a lot of times it's not, especially the CDC. Don't even get me started on that. So hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully this will help you kind of pull the wool from your eyes. This has been Dr. Jake Schmitz with another Freedom Health Talk. Now, moving forward, trust, but verify. Love you guys.
Come on in and experience small town hospitality and the personalized care that makes car buying a pleasure.
We know that every journey starts with the right car. Whether it's school drop-off, weekend road trips, or your daily commute, we have the right vehicle for you and your family.
With trusted brands, affordable prices, and a team that treats you like family, finding your next car has never been so easy.
We pride ourselves on personal attention and quality service. The Set Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza.
Hello, friends. This is Culture Crossroads. Join me, Andrew Southwick, and my co-hosts, R.C. Williams and Juliana Ormond, as we tackle the issues shaping America. From politics to pop culture, to faith, freedom, family, and the future. From a faith-based conservative perspective that you won't get anywhere else. We stand at the intersection of faith and freedom. This is Culture Crossroads. Culture Crossroads. Sundays at 5 p.m. Central on BET TV.